Is the season of celebration, a season of gift giving. And whether we look at it from a secular or from a spiritual perspective, there is a message here of connection, of oneness, of coming together in peace and harmony for a moment. But wouldn't it be grand if this lasted all year long? So, really, what we're celebrating is the birth of the divine at the very center of our being. So, the birth and life of Jesus are metaphors for our own celebrations and disappointments. But in our most tender moments, we know that we are even more than that. The consciousness is this feeling of wholeness, and it's allowing our natural compassion and our love for one another to reign. So the journey that we're on is really about finding this within ourselves and then living it all year long, rather than having a few days of giving gifts and having meals and hopefully getting along with each other rather than fighting at Christmas. I think in my childhood, most of our Christmases were very joyful. Prior to, some of them were a little questionable, but on the day of, there always seemed to be great joy, great food, and lots of people coming together. And I think that's what this season really represents. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind wrote, "The spark which burns at the center of our own soul is caught from the living and eternal flame of spirit." And so our charge then is to recognize, nurture, and express this divine spark of wholeness. So, how do we do that? How do we kindle that? And part of that journey is really acknowledging, number one, that we are spiritual beings and we're having a human experience. And sometimes the human experience feels a little bit difficult. And when we look at the world today, we might be having a bit of trouble reconciling the joy, the love, the peace when we see a world that appears to be flawed and broken. So it's important that we begin to pay attention to where we are focusing our attention. When we create an intention to be kind and loving, to be supportive and respectful, we begin to move in that direction. If we are focused on everything that's wrong in the world or in our lives, again, everything moves in that way. Everything begins to move in that direction. So what we want to do is manage our own heart and really come from a place of love. The message that came from Jesus was to live the Christ life. And that Christ life is about connection, it's about oneness, it is love. Remember, he talked to everybody, he took time with everybody. Now, whether the stories are accurate or not, the message there is through that kindness and love, there was healing that happened. And we create a world from our own consciousness. So what is it that we're focusing on? Where are we putting our attention? Are we living from that consciousness of oneness, that place of love, that divine light within us? Are we allowing that to shine out into the world, to be a beacon of hope for the future? Or are we looking at the world and seeing it as broken and that it can never get better, unsalvageable? Sometimes we can feel that way, that we look at something and go, I don't know how to change it. I don't know how to make it different. What is cannot be made different. But how I think about what is creating the next moment. What am I focusing my attention on? Where is it that my heart is at the moment? And Christmas is really about acknowledging that divine within ourselves. Because if we can wake up to our own authentic power and purpose, as we can begin to see ourselves as love, as light, if we can begin to really honor who we are as we are from wherever we came, what happens is we now begin to live in a way that is honoring and respectful of others as well. Remember, we can't give what we don't have. So in order to be a loving presence in the world, we must love ourselves first and foremost. So remembering that we live in a spiritual universe governed by principle, cause and effect, deep within each one of us is a presence, a sense of a larger life, an understanding there's something more. Now, Christians call this essence Christ, Jews call it Emmanuel, Buddhists call it the Buddha mind. The presence of God, regardless of the name that we give it, is the spark that animates our life. That's the spark we want to fuel, we want to feed, we want to allow to become a blazing force within us that moves us forward in such a way as to create a transformation in the world around us. And we have the ability to do that very thing. When we come to look at this time of year, not so much as, one baby boy was born, we were all born of this one divine presence. And it's when we really tap into that, accept that as the truth of who we are, and begin to live from that, we start to sense that deep power within that is all-knowing and ever-present, all-powerful. That energy of life itself, our oneness with the divine, our oneness with God. When we really tap into that, we are unlimited, unbound, ready to create anything that we can imagine. So I want you to imagine what life could be if we gave up judgment and criticism of ourselves and others. If we put forgiveness at the forefront of everything that we do, every interaction, what might life be like then? And yes, it's a challenge, I know. When we have, someone in our life who is angry with us or who has said or done something that hurt our feelings, we might feel some resentment or we might be angry, and it's okay to be angry. But remember, whatever we're feeling comes from us, and we have the ability within us to begin to shift that energy and move it. And forgiveness is about giving ourselves enough love that we might share that in the world around us. Life is happening through us. And the light that is within is that ever-present, powerful, positive, productive energy of the divine. We all have it. Every one of us created perfect, whole, and complete. And when we come to accept that that is the truth for us, then we experience freedom. When we get to that place of accepting how I'm created is absolute perfection. My behavior may not match that, but when I come to understand who I really am, then all of a sudden the behavior starts to match that same energy. So the journey that we're on is really about acknowledging this reality. And in the realization of wholeness during this Christmas time, we should level up or consider leveling up our prayer practice. Prayer is how we get rid of false ideas of lack, limitation, and separation. It's about really acknowledging, like when I pray, I am acknowledging first and foremost that there is a power for good in the universe that's infinite, eternal, and everywhere present. And so it's right here where I am. I let that be my beginning. There is this one power, and it's right here. And because it's right here, I know that I am one with it. And it's in that knowledge of oneness that I begin to see how powerful I truly am, how powerful each one of us are. And then I can intend I can create statements that allow me to change my old belief system and to accept a higher, greater truth coming from that place of I am one with God, all powerful. Well, then I must be powerful. I can't be one with a powerful energy and not have some of that in me. So we start to change the stories that we've told ourselves, and we begin to model instead the consciousness of oneness, that consciousness of the absolute that lives right at the core of us. And our prayer practice can really make a difference with that. So instead of believing in all these ideas of limitation, we begin to believe in this infinite power of wholeness. And as a whole divine being created perfectly, how do I choose to live my life today? What if there was something in us that didn't believe in the less than story? What if there was something in us that believed in our brilliance and our beauty, our talent and our wisdom? What if there is a pattern of perfection that can't be disputed? What if we started to realize that? And when we pray for ourselves and for others and for our world, we touch that place deep within. We come home. That's the place of acknowledging capital T truth, not my opinion about something, my judgment about something, but rather an awareness of my oneness with God, my oneness with this infinite power and presence. So the Christ means the entire manifestation of God. Okay? That's what it means, the entire manifestation of God. So to put on the Christ, to the degree that we surrender a limited sense of life to the divine realization of wholeness and unity, that's when we have begun to experience that consciousness of the Christ or the divine. And we begin to move forward in life with a sense of love and peace and generosity as we're moving along and seeing that each one of us has something to offer. Ernest Holmes says to carry peace, love, and givingness to everyone is the meaning of Christmas. And to feel that we are all a part of the divine offering is to enter into the spirit of the birth of Christ in the human mind and heart. That's what we're doing here. We're reminded every year, come December 24th and 25th, yes, we're supposed to be kind and loving. We're supposed to acknowledge our oneness with each other and our oneness with this divine presence. As we do that, we begin to live in a new way, in a more powerful, positive, and productive way. And there's magic in that, or so it seems, because things happen that sometimes we can't even explain them. How beautiful and remarkable things are that occur kind of out of the blue sometimes. And we wonder, how did that happen? Those moments of absolute clarity as we move forward. Eric Butterworth said in a radio broadcast one Christmas Eve, he said, Christmas has little magic in it when we are just looking backward to worship the child in the manger. Magic is found by looking forward to the day when our own Christ child may unfold in our lives, a time to look inward to its presence right now. So that consciousness is within each and every one of us, and it is powerful. And as we turn to it and we let go of the trappings of the manifest world and start to see it as something that constantly moves and changes, we begin to see within ourselves our own power to affect that change. Today is a day of waking up to something bigger and brighter. It's a time of really accepting a journey that is so remarkable. It's a time of really accepting ourselves as more than just this physical form. So let us take a moment to go into meditation. And I want to invite you to really just quiet your mind for a moment. And as you take a breath in, I invite you to just drop into the very core of your heart center and to visualize a golden light, brilliant and beautiful. And see that light in the heart space, growing, expanding. And as it expands, it begins to light up every cell in the physical body. Feel it like a tingle, a tickle of remembrance. And as that light illuminates every cell, feel this divine energy, feel this presence as love. And allow that feeling and that light to begin to move out from your body, filling the room that you're in. And somehow, as it grows, it is not diminished within you, but actually is expanding within you. And it's moving out, filling the city in which you find yourself, the country that you're living in. And moving beyond the borders, filling this continent of North America. And beginning to move through the waters of the earth, the land, the people, lifting, expanding, lighting up every heart, touching hearts and minds everywhere with this positive, beautiful feeling of oneness. The planet fully covered in this glorious golden light, sparkling brilliantly with the energy of love, of peace. And as it moves beyond this blue planet and moves out into the night sky, into the starry realm, filling the entire galaxy. And still, at the core of my being, the energy simply grows. No matter how much is given, it continues to grow. This energy of love, infinite, eternal, always, always present. I invite you to take a deep breath in and just slowly begin to bring your consciousness back into your physical form, knowing that the light stays expanded. The energy emanating from the very essence of your being is still fully present, fully activated. And as you bring your awareness back to this time and space, just know that love is the eternal force of the divine.